Om Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesharjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Mayaya Tameva Sharanam Gaccha Sarva Bhavena Bharata Tat Prasadat Param Shantim Sthanam Prapsasi Shashvatam Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesharjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्. Sloka, let me bring perhaps that sloka up. You can share as well, right? So yeah. You can see my screen, right? This
yes, sure can.
A very useful website. It has full chanting of slokas. So this is an 18th chapter. Is that my screen, my side creating background music?
What you have to do, you'd have to bump out of this, out of the screen share, redo the screen share, and then there's a checkbox at the bottom of that when you go into share that says share system audio, and that'll allow you to share your computer audio with us.
Oh, okay. Okay, so right now I'm not looking to do that, but in case if I need, I will do that.
Okay.
Okay, so the slokas that I read, here. So Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesharjuna Tishtati Ramayan Sarva Bhutani Yantrarudani Mayaya. The meaning here is this is a very standard interpretation, so it's a very accurate or straight from this text. The Lord is seated in the heart of all beings, turning all beings mounted upon a machine by his Maya. So it's like, so this is an interesting part where Arjuna, basically the Lord who is everywhere and he is in all beings in their heart, and while seated there, he moves them, he basically activates them through as if all the beings are mounted upon a machine. So this machine is the Maya and karma Maya is the combination of this. This is what we have seen in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? So the way how to get out of it is the second sloka. These two slokas are fairly summarizing the overall gist of the spiritual path, actually. So the next sloka, these two are together, actually. So Tameva Sharanam Gaccha Sarva Bhavena Bharata Tat Prasadat Param Shantim Sthanam Prapsasi Shashvatam. So in him, in Ishvara, in Lord, take refuge in every way of thy being, and by his grace thou shalt come to the supreme peace and the eternal status. So the only way to get out of Maya is to take refuge in every way. This is another every way of thy being. So it's not like you cannot leave little bit out to remain. So the whole being, if you surrender by His grace, we cannot do it everything ourselves, right? All we have control, or the ball that we have, is to take refuge in every way, and then by His grace, which is always there, thou shalt come to the supreme peace and the eternal status.
You looking for the book? Oh,
So this is these two from Bhagavad Gita, Mayatri, if you haven't heard me. So these two slokas are fairly summarizing the entire spiritual path. The whole being, what we are, and the purpose, everything these two slokas consist of. So these two are very important slokas of Gita. So let's. I thought this would be a good summary to summarize chapter 1, which deals with the details of how it got mounted on a machine, right? Machine-like operation, how it is working through. That's what we have seen in the most part of the explanation from Holy Science.
I'm gonna grab our book really quick.
Okay. So let's finish with our typical prayer that we do every time before we start the Holy Science, right? Om Nityam Purnam Anadi Anantam Brahma Param Tadeva Ekam Evadvaitam Sat Nityam Purnam Anadi Anantam Brahma Param Tadevaikum Evadvaitam Sat Tatra Sarvagnya Prema Bijam Chit Sarva Shakti Bijam Anandascha Tatra Sarvagnya Prema Bijam Chit Sarva Shakti Bijam Anandascha. So quickly, to give a glance of this first chapter, we will finish summarizing the first chapter and start the second chapter today. So first two slokas, he provided the Sat aspect, ever-existing aspect, eternal aspect, and then in the second sutra he provided the Chit and Ananda aspects. The Chit aspect consists of both omniscience and supreme love, and the bliss or Ananda aspect consists of omnipotence. So that's the first two sutras. And then he went into how this omnipotence has unfolded into universal creation. And in order to do the universal creation, the karma of the previously kept unmanifested archive is used as the material cause for producing the universe. And then he explained how Ishvara's Maya is nothing but is a collective aspects from the individualized avidya or ignorance or so karma that is part of the individualized beings, right? So that's 1.4 sutra. And then in 1.5, he expanded. So 1.3 and 1.4 is the expansion of the omnipotence or the Shakti side. And then the 1.5 side, 1.5 is talking about the Chit or the consciousness side. The consciousness, God's consciousness reflecting on the creation, produces a reflected consciousness, which is basically the individual being or the Purusha or Atma, what we call. And then with both Chit, the consciousness aspect, and the Shakti or the power aspect, both together starts unfolding to further expression. So the first set of expression is these 4 principles that was explained here: the Chitta, heart, and the Buddhi, which is their affinity is towards the truth, and the mind, which is the affinity is towards enjoyment. And so it is the opposite pole. And then the ego, which is considering the identity with this operation. So that's explained in 1.6. Then 1.7 through 1.10 is further expansion of those 4 principles in further mixing with gunas. With those 3 gunas, we get the subtle principles, the 5 elemental principles, the causal body, and then further mixing with gunas, we get 15 subtle sense objects and senses. So that constitutes the subtle body, and then further expanding to with the tamas or inertia quality, we get the gross world. So in this manner, in this expansion, the entire universal structure has been created in this manner. So that's explained here. These 24 principles really constitutes the entire universal aspect. I felt that sloka that we read from Bhagavad Gita, mounting on a machine. So this is kind of the machine, how it operates, what are all the internal aspects are given here. It's all counted here. So these 24 principles together, in 1.13, he's saying the universal manifestation completed using these 24 principles. So the 14 universes that's explained, Sri Yukteswar, as we saw in detail, we have 7 macrocosmic realms and the corresponding microcosmic realms that is part of the individualized being. And then we have the Panchakosha, or the going back to how the individual being progresses. So it talks about both, however we want to term it, the unfolding it and then going backwards. So both ways is explained here in this particular 1.14. The 5 sheets are explained. And the spiritual journey was explained in the last 4 sutras. The sutra that we spent good amount of time in the last couple of calls was relating the ideas, what we perceive is seems more like a dream state comparison is provided, and then we get the inference from the experience that we have, and then and then further securing Sadguru and his grace, we get to directly experience. So first is from experiencing or relating from others' experiences. Now, in 117, it talks about how you directly experience. And finally, after the direct experience, you merge your individualized being into the supreme being. That's the final state, Kaivalyam. That's, any comments, thoughts, questions?
I'm hoping we've gotten through the tough part.
Yeah, see, the most, every chapter, he has compressed different aspects into very packed book, right? So he briefly touches on many aspects, like the Panchakosha that we saw. It is just mentioned in one sutra, right? And similarly, the 14 universes, that macrocosmic, microcosmic, all that is in one sutra. So like that, since it's packed, it depends on like how much time we have, you can expand or compress. And similarly, I think the rest of the third chapter, even though it is longer in length, I think it will be more the sadhana part. That may be something more directly relatable. The tough part, I think the more interpretation and all the things, more abstract is probably the part, if that's what your thought, Maitri.
So you're saying the more abstract is in the first chapter?
Yeah, first and last chapter also is abstract. So, but this is most abstract. Yeah.
But we're going to have a little bit of a reprieve in the second chapter.
So I request. So this 115, 116, 117. We haven't really gone through word by word whether these look. I would like either Mark or you just to take a look and reword them as necessary to kind of make it more to flow. If there is any sentence correction or mistake.
You want me to read it out loud?
You can do it now, or you can do it on your own, whichever way how you prefer.
Go through it and kind of see if there's any way to restructure it. The syntax of it.
Well, why don't we just read it real quick?
Oh yeah, well let's do that. Let's do that. That way it may be better.
So 117.
Could you start from 115?
Sure. When we compare our ideas relating to gross matters conceived in the wakeful state with our ideas in the dream state, the similarity existing between them makes us infer that the external world is impermanent, like a dream, I would say, maybe.
Like a dream, right? Yeah. Okay.
In this manner, investigating further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and the intelligence will lead us to infer that the wakeful state experience is an effect of the operations of our mind and intelligence. This correct inference is known as Paraksha-jnana, knowledge gathered from others' views. From the knowledge gained by proper inference, a sincere seeker of truth attracts
so this sentence is okay. This 116. This is too long, I felt. The similarities between wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and the intelligence. Maybe a comma. Is it comma here somewhere? Will make it better, or this is itself is okay?
I wouldn't put a comma after further, I don't think.
Investigating further, comma not necessary.
I don't think so. In this manner, investigating further the similarities. Do you think it needs a comma? I don't think so.
No, I don't think it needs a comma there.
Between the wakeful state,
Conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and the intelligence.
so basically what you're saying here is that we're thinking that the wakeful state is formed by the mind and the intelligence.
Correct.
So I mean, you might be able to shorten that.
See, the first three sentences are pretty clear that intelligence and whatever we are doing is through our mind, and that is the wakeful state experience in an effect of the operations of our mind and intelligence. So that is correct. But the second part, this correct inference is known as Paroksh Jnana, means knowledge gathered from others' views. So if others' views come, that means it's not our knowledge.
It is not our knowledge, but that knowledge is used to infer properly this correct inference. So we are inferring based on, see, we don't know the actual experience. We don't have the actual experience. We are making assumption here that whatever that we are experiencing seems that way is what we know, right? But now it gets validated from reading scriptures and others who have got real experience. That's what here.
So this experience, this knowledge is about God, about higher realms, or it's not what we are talking about, our mind and intelligence. It's not about us. It's about the God there.
No. This is still, see, here the connection he is making in these two sutras, basically the connection, how we get into spiritual path to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the connection is from our individual experience when we kind of start relating the wakeful state conceptions with the ideas formed by our mind and intelligence and showing up in dreams and comparing, we come to a conclusion, okay, there may be something, the similarity is what is going to lead. So that's the point is made here.
I don't even think you necessarily need the word conceptions, just the similarities between the wakeful state and the ideas formed, in our minds.
So the word structure, the similarities between the wakeful state and the ideas formed by the mind and
No, I don't see if there's any. We could argue about this all day. I don't see if there's any problem with the word conceptions.
Well, I'm just trying to simplify it so that it doesn't lose its strength.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's a way to break up that first sentence into two sentences, so you could say something like, "In this manner, we can investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and the intelligence. Period. This will lead us to the wakeful state experience this will lead us to infer that the wakeful state experience is an effect of our operations of our mind and intelligence.
So maybe we put something like this in this manner. That is, the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and intelligence
Lead us.
will lead us to investigate further, right?
Well, I was doing it differently, but that would probably. What I was trying to do is just split up that first sentence so that it's not, because it's pretty complex as it is. In this manner, as we investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and intelligence. No, that doesn't work. I guess I was thinking, in this manner, we can investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the intelligence, period. This will lead us to infer the wakeful state experience, yada, yada, yada.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so as we investigate further, the similarities, let me accept.
Cheese stick.
I would say instead of as we, you would say we can investigate further, because otherwise using as we implies that there's going to be something else at the end of the sentence, and the goal, of course, there is to break that up so it's a little more digestible.
In this manner,
In this manner, we can investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state.
I don't know why you have the can in there.
yeah, as we can.
Okay, we investigate further. In this manner, we investigate further. Yeah, take out the can.
Yeah, can probably is not a. As we investigate further, the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and intelligence. Here, comma.
Well,
Right?
I think, yeah, I was trying to avoid the comma, but
I think this is a little better than previous one.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is better actually. In this manner, as we investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and the intelligence.
Do you want me to read more?
Yeah, please go ahead and read this, see if that makes sense.
That again? Is
Um,
that what you're saying?
yeah,
Okay, in this manner, as we investigate further the similarities between the wakeful state conceptions and the ideas formed by the mind and intelligence, this will lead us to infer the wakeful state experience is an effect of the operations of our mind and intelligence. Yeah, I think that's fine.
that's better. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, please.
From the knowledge gained by proper inference, a sincere seeker of truth attracts the company of a God-realized master, Satguru. Following master's instructions faithfully with diligent practice, one may be fortunate to experience Om or Om sound in inner light, which reveals God's presence in an individual. Getting total attention absorbed in the Om sound in the inner light is known as
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti. Yeah, I'm not sure if getting total, should it be receiving total attention? Anyway, union with God through love and devotion. Through Bhakti Yoga, one retraces back from the state of ignorance toward one's true divine nature, which is centered in the true being, God. Gradually, as soul-binding ignorance developments get removed, one comprehends the true characteristics of universal creation of Maya. This true comprehension gained from the direct experience is known as aparakshokshya jnana. I think you don't need developments. I just say as soul blinding ignorance gets removed.
So here the getting word maybe once total attention being absorbed in the Om sound and the inner light. Would that be better?
Yeah, let me see, but the sentence before, which feels God's presence in individual. One's total attention gets absorbed in the Om sound and the inner light. How about when one's total attention is absorbed? But you have to put when one's total attention is absorbed in the Om sound and the inner light. It is known as Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, it's not like momentarily or when. It's not like that kind I wanted to avoid. So that's why I think it was a little convoluted. So it's not like you can. It's part of the time and then part of the time out, like that, you know. So so the Bhakti Yoga is like the entire state of being is how we want to capture here. So the total attentions. So when total attention or when word maybe we need that then. Like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
If that is correct to you.
When one's total attention is absorbed in the Om sound and the inner light is known as Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, I think that should be fine.
It is known. Yeah. You have to put it there. It's comma. It is known. After inner light, it is known.
Okay.
The rest is fine, I think, except I would take out developments. So just gradually, as soul blinding ignorance is removed or gets removed, however you want to say.
Ignorance and its developments.
What does that mean? Developments.
It's so ignorance completely. So ignorance is kind of the basis for all its all the. We'll see in more in the second chapter how that plays out. So the ignorance is the kind of like is what I mean. Even in the first chapter we saw the avidya is the basis for the material cause for the universal creation, right? So the entire universal creation, that development is what is talked about here. Its expressions maybe further and its expressions, or its the expressions is more a positive term for ignorance. So is I mean it's I'll come up with the word so the development or expressions, it's more that kind of word. So anything that kind of unfolds from the ignorance gets removed. One comprehends the true characteristics. So the ignorance alone is kind of like, it's very hard to understand even, right? So what exactly is the ignorance? People will interpret in various ways. And here, all those interpretations, all those expressions, all of them together is what is getting removed, right? All its entanglements, or however we want to use the word, that is what I think he used the word developments. I think I probably adapted the same one here. So, okay, so I'll come back to this word. So I get Mark's chat, he texted me that his internet went down apparently. So it's just so Neelam, is Dinah there still?
You want to continue or wait for them?
No, we will. I don't know where he recorded. Maybe it is in cloud, recording to the cloud. Okay. I think we can continue, or let me see if. You want me to call and find out if it is just a.
Yeah, maybe because we are just 4 of us, 5 of us. So.
Hey, Maitri. So. Oh, you can reconnect or power went out, something like that.
Yeah, here we are.
Oh, they rejoined. Looks like, yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now we can.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
So we were talking about developments, and I was just saying I didn't understand it in the context of like it seemed like you didn't need to say that because it seemed
Yeah. So what I was saying, probably you dropped at but the time. So the developments. So the ignorance is the basis for every other unfoldment of the entire universal creation itself. Okay. And so this is we saw in first chapter in the beginning, avidya is mentioned, and here just and ignorance obviously is not fully can be comprehended, and we have a lot of interpretations of what ignorance really means, right? And here the development word is we could use something more, something different than development.
what is it referring to?
So since ignorance is kind of the basis for, we will see more in the second chapter also. So the ignorance is the basis for ego, and is basis for attachment, and is basis for getting our desires and angers, right?
So you're saying developments are ego, attachments.
Things like that, yeah.
So you might, I don't know, you might want to, specify a little bit there, just for, i.e., ego in parentheses or something, i.e. ego.
I will. I mean, I don't want to limit that. That's why I see the ignorance is kind of basis for everything. So
The ignorance brings lot of other situations.
Yeah.
And consequences happen, and there is a vast area of that. So probably.
I like that word better, Neelam. Consequences. Personally.
Yeah, consequences has a more negative term.
Consequences are due to various situations which brings those consequences. So the developments, ignorance brings certain situations in life, and then it brings us to various different other consequences. So
I used his word, I believe. So he used developments, the developments of ignorance. That's what he used as well. So
The development situations.
maybe I should put rather than its development, maybe here as developments of the soul blinding ignorance. Get removed. How is this reading?
As developments of the soul blinding.
Ignorance get removed.
Okay.
Is better.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so you want me to read on?
Oh, it went long. Sorry for jumping over. Okay. All right. As the developments of the soul blinding ignorance get removed, one comprehends the true characteristic. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Maitri. Sorry.
Where do you want me to go? Just
Yeah,
right.
so just finish. Let's finish this
In
footnote
the,
and yeah.
in the Dakshinamurti Ashtakam verses 1 and 2 of Sri Adi Shankara, 3 analogies are mentioned illustrating the universal manifestation. In order to understand them, they all need to be viewed together, as no single expression can adequately describe Maya. As it is said, it cannot be described. There are paraphrased here with additional explanations. The universe is like a city reflected in a mirror. Like a mirror, the universe is reflecting the mirror image, is reflecting the mirror image of our individual karmic patterns in order to help us neutralize our karmic patterns. And in a dream, we see the content of the dream outside of us, but they are really inside. Similarly, as in a dream, the universe actually an inside phenomena happening inside God's consciousness is appearing to be outside of us. And 3, like how a seed keeping the subtle invisible form of the tree later spouts into a gross visible tree, the universe is projected from the fine, imperceptible, condensed form of the collective karma, mula prakriti, of individuals, later in a gross, perceptible, expanded form through the instrumentality of Maya, using space-time units of expression principles. Like how a magician or a great yogi projects using their willpower and materialization powers, God projects this whole visible universe using Maya from fine, subtle form with his immeasurable power.
This comma is probably not necessary.
Yeah, and it might be from, shouldn't it be from a fine, subtle form? Or not?
Oops.
Oops. Boy, that last one, 3, is a big one.
Yeah. Why is jumping around? Okay, so anyway, so I should probably do a double click. So, so this first one, maybe I should put a full stop here, maybe illustrating the universal manifestation, and then I nodded.
Sure.
Yeah.
Rest of the sentences you are able to follow clearly, right? There is no.
Yeah, the third one is the toughest one.
Toughest one for people to accept it, or toughest one for reading?
Sort of both. Well, I always get a little confused with the space-time units of expression principles. That's like a big mouthful right there. And that, I know it's talked about earlier, but at this point, again, I don't think you can reiterate what that means too much, because it's a real dense concept,
Yeah,
and it's sort of
it's not something you can prove, because whatever we need, we can prove is all operates within the space-time units of expression. So you cannot really prove it. You can only comprehend it when you
I
can.
know, but I've already forgotten what I comprehended. I mean, I forget what that's referring to. I know it's further, back in the thing, but I sort of forget what that means again. I mean,
So-
it could be that you could put an asterisk there and then at the bottom of the page explain it again what it is. Just
This itself is a footnote. So we need another footnote for footnote.
yeah.
Note for the footnote.
Well, I mean, these are tough concepts. And
We
the
can-
thing is, I thought on number 2, I thought, oh, I really get this, but then it seems sort of strangely a little bit lost. In a dream, we see the content of the dream outside of us, but they're really inside. Okay, I totally get that. We're dreaming, it's inside us, but it feels like it's outside of us when we're in the dream, right? That's what you're referring to there.
Yeah, Sutra 1.3 or 1.4.
Similarly, as in a dream, the universe, actually an inside phenomenon. Again, we're in a dream. It's inside God's consciousness, but it's also, in a way, I'm trying to think. There's something in me that says it's an inside phenomenon for all of us too. I mean, we are. It's almost like we're simultaneously dreaming the dream too, but we're conscious or we think we're conscious in this dream. It's like we're actively part of it.
Yeah, this is also
We're-
very
you're an
complicated
aspect of
concept,
God's
right? So
consciousness.
conceptually, all these 3 parts is very difficult to kind of like explain or intellectually
Right.
discuss, right?
Well, I mean,
So-
in the top, you said it perfectly when it said Maya can't be explained.
Yeah, in the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
it is said that it cannot be described.
Yeah,
Maitri, we are beginners here.
yeah,
Oh,
Swami
yeah.
Yukteswar ji has written this book for very advanced
yeah.
disciples. So we are just the beginners and learning. So someday we'll be there.
Well, I think you're there as you go deeper in your experience within,
Correct.
and it starts to unravel there. But we're sort of looking at it from the outside. But it's interesting to try to comprehend it from this
Yeah.
angle.
So let's finish
Who knows? No one else knows.
Shiva, I just had the one thing that keeps tripping me up is the word later.
Where is it?
The universe is projected from fine, imperceptible, condensed form of the collective karma of individuals later into a gross, perceptible, expanded form through the instrumentality of Maya using space-time units expression, so on and so forth. And I'm wondering if since we're just describing, something, the same kind of idea of something sprouting from a seed, we get that, you have fine, subtle form in the form of the seed, and later and it does sprout into a gross, expanded form. But I'm just wondering if the word later there is even necessary. It kind of
Yeah, this may be maybe with the analogy here, the latter, I mean, I use the same one more mechanically. Maybe
Right.
since we are saying it here, it probably is implied. We don't really need this again one more time. That breaks the
Yeah, I
sentence.
think you're right. I think it can come out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good. Okay.
Should I read on?
Sure. Yeah. 118. I think we are at the end. So please.
After completely cleansed of the karma accumulated from the development of ignorance of one's own true nature, one attains the state of the reflected soul consciousness above the influences of Maya. In that state, one realizes that one's soul is a reference point or center of the all-pervading God Supreme Consciousness. Ultimately, one sacrifices oneself to God's Supreme Consciousness, abandoning the idea of one's separate existence, and becomes one integral whole known as Kevalam.
After completely cleansed of the karma, basically I added this, accumulated from the developments of ignorance of one's own true nature, right? One attains.
Hold on a minute, I gotta find out what's going on with my cat. What are you doing?
One attains the state of the reflected soul consciousness above the influences of mind.
Sweetie, come here. Go out. Come here. Go out. Go out.
Sorry about that.
You're just like a child.
Worse, you can't reason with them. After completely cleansed of the karma accumulated from the developments.
So when you say the reflected soul conscious, I'm not sure. When you were saying reflected, you're using that word because.
So because there is an individuality.
Because what?
There is an individuality. See, as long as where we have an individual being, that individuality, as long as that is there, which is nothing but reflected soul consciousness. So this is reflected soul consciousness. This is the pure. Maybe I should add somewhere the pure rather than just reflection.
Yeah, the word reflected kind of trips me up. It does.
Pure soul consciousness probably I think is better.
I think that's better. I take reflected out. Pure soul consciousness works.
It's still there is an individual. So it is there is an individual soul part, right? So yeah, I think I agree. I mean, probably reflected. I mean, I probably take from his commentary, but in that commentary, I think it probably made more sense to leave it like that. So.
Well, I think you're referring back to that whole thing of wherever it is above, where it's like a mirror reflection.
Like a mirror, yeah.
But I think it's sort of confusing down here. I think pure soul consciousness is better.
Okay. Everything else looks okay?
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think, Neelam?
It's okay.
Thank you for taking time. I mean, this also, I mean, the more complicated part, is, I think we reviewed it. Hope someday.
Neelam, I don't know if Shiva told you, but Pranabha was going to take this and submit it to Crystal Clarity and see if they'll are interested in publishing it. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have something that really focuses on just the translation of the Sanskrit slokas, because it kind of gives you a different perspective, a slightly different perspective from what's written in the Holy Science.
Actually, I felt that too, Mark. So I mean, the more that I am kind of like reading through, and also I made the chant, Sanskrit chant. So I don't know. So that one also helps with this kind of like a quick summary. You can easily go through with the chant, and you can have them compared. It kind of like, see, the more that we are able to hear and take the connection in our daily experiences, I think our understanding of that will enhance, right? So from that perspective, also it helps. So it's mainly I'm doing it for my sake, but I'm also sharing.
I was just thinking it'd be great to have something similar to what you were doing with BhagavadGita.com, and actually have the slokas chanted and have that available as something to listen to as well. But
Yeah, there is an app that website that I was sharing initially. There is a app available you can download, and that one actually does exactly what you're saying. So
it will take something that is written and pronounce it for you.
yeah, and you can also, it has a scroll. It just scrolls through each sloka by sloka. When the chanting continues, it goes through that as well. So
Are you
yeah,
talking, are you
it's
talking
very
about
very useful app.
Are you talking about the sutras from Holy Science or from
No,
Bhagavad
Gita, Bhagavad Gita.
Gita? Okay, no, I was saying it'd be cool to have the
Holy Science.
I get them mixed up. It's called a sloka.
So I thought you were asking for Bhagavad Gita.
No, I was asking for Holy Science.
No. Holy Science, we haven't done that anything yet. So we could do what you're saying in a video, where we could perhaps do that part. So we are already at top of the hour. So thanks for reminding. So I mean, the second chapter, from the size of it, it is somewhat. I mean, let's just briefly talk about second chapter. Let's not go into the second chapter, but we will just talk about what it has, and then we'll finish this session. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the mechanism of the individual being, how it is. So how one recognizes. So the second chapter, in summary, you can say, is more like a the Vedantic aspect, or the Vedantic aspect, meaning the principles that binds one person to this universe. What are all the aspects that binds them, right? So, and how to get out of that binding is what the second chapter is. So the goal is what is defined in the overall second chapter. So what's the purpose of the human being? The creation purpose and the purpose of human life is what is explained here.
Okay.
So in order to recognize that we are in having some sort of a binding, in order to recognize that, you need to understand what we are really missing in order to get the current situation is something requiring attention, right? Otherwise, people are kind of like happy with what they have, and they really don't have any idea what they lose or anything. So that's why it starts with initially, what's the ultimate that we will achieve? and in the achievement, what we gain from that achievement. So that is first initiated or started, and then what really makes it bound to this world is the desire is mentioned here, and then from that part, that where we start with this avidya concept, that ignorance, and from what is ignorance is defined, and ignorance then unfolds to the ego, attachment, and also the desire and anger, the dual forces, and from there how so it goes into the continuous cycle of the karma formed from those forces of ignorance, right? And finally, so it stops at that point. Then starts with the viewer's part, like how to get out of that the karmic bindings. And this is explaining the steps of how to gain the Sat, Chit, Ananda, those three aspects he has explained. This is fairly unique from Holy Science.
Okay.
What each aspect of the Sat, Chit, Ananda aspect, he further explains little bit more in detail about the Satta. Initially, the Ananda aspect is experienced, and then you gain the Chit aspect, and then you finally realize the Sat aspect. So then once you have that, then you basically go to your true nature, is how it ends the second chapter. So the first part is fairly common in most of the spiritual literature in India. The karmic part and the key parts in the second chapter from Holy Science, uniquely, if you want to say this part is fairly unique.
Okay.
So
We'll get into that more next time.
I think we will probably finish this chapter more quickly, unless we have some detail, because the overall commentary is also much smaller in second chapter.
Well, and plus these are all concepts that I think we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
Much more so than in the first chapter. The first chapter is, like you said, is much more abstract. It's very conceptual. It's hard to get your head wrapped around it. But second chapter it seems like it's a lot easier because it's all concepts that we
are familiar with. Yeah, so that's why it's more easier, and it's also methodical, and also we find a lot of equivalent things in Yoga Sutras also. So these Panchakleshas. So he referred in. He kind of like redefined us in a slightly different manner from Yoga Sutras. So many of them match exactly, but some of them he added some additional. It's not contradicting. So it is. I will touch on those when we kind of get to those aspects. We can compare with the Yoga Sutra also, how those two relate as well. That would be good.
Nice. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up because we do have to go.
Yeah, I think this is good. So we will wrap it up, and thank you for attending, and we will finish with the prayer as we do.
Thank you. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. Om Purnam Mada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnamudachyate
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ
Thank you. Hey Shiva, tell me again. What's Charu's schedule?
Oh, Charu and